Walaikum salam.
Okay. So I think the timing in California has been changed from today. Yes.
Yep, it has.
What will be the comfortable time from tomorrow that you will join? According to California,
9. I can't. Tomorrow is school, so this time is school time.
this time is full time. Yes. So, what time your school starts?
8:35.
8:25.
8:35. 35.
You leave your home by what time?
I leave home by 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Okay. So 8 o'clock. So then I have to take. And at what time you come in the evening from school?
What time? 3:45.
3:45 means you return back by 4:30. For example, you will be fresh. You'll eat your food by 4:30. Okay. So can we take? Wait a minute.
I
4:30.
can't eat food tomorrow.
You can.
I can't. Fasting.
That will fast. You will fast. Yes, correct. Correct. Is that so? 4:30. Okay, you come by 4:30 means here it will be 5. So who time it will be here? Okay, so you can join at 4:30 p.m.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So we'll connect 4:30 or 4. Okay, 4:30. 5 will be your Fajr. When there will be 5 p.m. Fajr time will be there here. 5. You can join
Mhm.
at 5:46. 6. You can join at 5:30 p.m. Right? 5:30 p.m. is convenient to you. It will be convenient to
Yeah.
me also. So I'll pray my Fajr prayer here and I'll take your class.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so 5:30 p.m. will be our everyday class from tomorrow onwards. Is it clear, Zay?
Yeah.
Okay. What time is
Yes.
iftar there? Iftar?
Thor, I think it's seven,
Okay.
7 to 8. I
Okay.
think.
Okay, then no problem with 5:30 p.m. Okay. Then done. We'll join at 5:30 p.m. from tomorrow. Is it clear? Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So you have given the test that I have forwarded.
Yeah, I'm almost done with it.
Yeah. Okay. You have done it. Okay. So mom will transfer.
Almost done. It's really easy. I just didn't finish it yet.
Okay. So
Uh,
I give up one more test on chapter 2 by tomorrow, inshallah. So we'll start our
mm-hmm.
unit 3 today.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. That's one of our unit 3. So we will be starting with our unit 3,
Mm-hmm.
collecting data. I have given you an introduction on it, what we'll be
Mm-hmm.
seeing in collecting data. We'll come on to our first topic. Okay, so collecting data. So the things are sampling and survey that we'll be conducting in section 4.1. Section 4.2 will be the experiment, and 4.3 will be the things that we'll study. He will explain us how to use it wisely and where to use it. Okay. So introduction.
Mm-hmm.
You can hardly go a day without hearing the results of a statistical study. Here are some examples. So we have given some examples that the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration (NHTSA) reports that seat belts used in passenger vehicles increased from 88.5% in 2015 to 90.1% in 2016. So where did the data come from? That's also the thing that there can be a scene that they have recorded in 2015 more cars that the passengers was not wearing seat belts, and in 2016 that it happened in the day that they recorded more car with having seat belts. So there can be a thing. So is this data with what they analyzed using statistical tool, was it correct? So he has given the explanation here. So, can we trust these results? What he is, see, according to a survey, US teens aged 13 to 18 use entertainment media, likewise television, internet, social media, listening to music, etc., nearly 9 hours a day on average. So it's very big scale what they are using the televisions. A study suggests that lack of sleep increases the risk of catching a cold. So where can you, how he is giving a conclusion on this? So he is raising a question here. Can we trust these results? As you'll learn in this chapter, the answers depends on how the data were produced. That's the thing. All the thing that comes is on data. The globe in nowadays is revolving around data. As AI, artificial intelligence training models, and the day is increasing, and there are more AI models which are building there, neural networks that are building there. So the accuracy of the neural networks and the predictor and the models, predictory models, depends upon the data from where it's coming. So it is very essential to see from where the data is coming. So each year NTSA conducts an observational study on seatbelts used in vehicles. So the NHTSA sends the trainer observers to record the behavior of people in vehicles at randomly selected location across the country. So what does it do for collecting data? He randomly, he what does he do in NTSA? What we have seen in the first case, that he randomly sends his observers, randomly sends the observers to the various part of the country, to the various parts of the country to record the observation of the to record the observation. See, he is not focusing on any one state or any specific city in the country, but he is sending the observer to every part, various parts of the countries, for recording the behavior of customers, to recording the nature of passengers using seat belts, nature of passengers wearing seat belts in passenger cars, wearing seat belts, correct? So he has sent, what he has done, he has randomly sended the observers at random various places in the city and seen the observation. Okay, then the idea of an observational study is simple. You can learn a lot by just watching or by asking a few questions. As in the survey of teens media habits, commonly sense media conducted this survey using a random sample of 1399 US students 13 to 18 year old. Both of these studies use information from a sample to draw conclusion from a some larger population, examines the issue involved in the sampling. So what he is telling, that, just a minute, I'll drink some water. So what he has done there was a big population there. So in both the cases, in the using television, students or teenagers using television gadgets, using television, what he has done in a big population, he has randomly taken some randomly, yeah, remember this word, randomly he has selected students, and from the population randomly has selected samples from different states or different cities there. Okay, and what he has
Hmm.
done, made a sample there, made a sample from the population. This was the whole sample. Is it clear how he has
Yeah,
made?
I understand.
Next. So in the sleep and catching a body cold, both of these study use the sample to draw the conclusion about the some larger population. So by seeing the sample, we have made some conclusion on this sample. We have made this conclusion on this sample, correct? And we have assumed to be for the whole population. We have assumed it true for the true population, that it is true. The conclusion is true for the population. That's the thing. So, in the sleep and catching a cold study, 153 volunteers answered questions about their sleep habits over a 2 week period. Then researchers gave them a virus and waited to see who developed a cold. This was a complicated observational study. Compare this with the experiment performed by AP statistics students. They recruited 30 students and divided into two groups of 15 by drawing names from a hat. Students in one group tried to memorize off a list of words by listening to music. Students in other group tried to memorize the same list of words while sitting in silence. So now we will see he's experimenting that while sitting in silence and memorizing has a difference over sitting in disturbance and memorizing, where it has a difference or not. In section 4, so he has seen that in both the cases, we will focus on the role of this one. See, randomization in our analysis, how randomized experiments takes place, how randomized experience we face. Okay, so sampling and surveys. So for samplings, when sampling is done, what do? We do surveys. We generally conduct. We generally conduct surveys on population to collect sample from it. To collect sample from it. So it is known as sample from it. So it is known as population, yes, sampling. So it is known as sampling, means we are collecting samplings by doing what? Surveys. Okay, surveys, different surveys are done by the students or by the researchers, they generally do. Okay, so this is the thing, sampling. So what we learn in this learning targets are: identify the population sample in a statistical study, identify voluntary response sampling and convenience sampling, and how these sampling methods can lead to biasness. So I have told you, sampling data is very, what you will say, it is the backbone, it is the spinal cord of the body. What predictions we are going to do, what conclusion we are going to make, it is a spinal cord of all our, what you will say, tools, what they are performing statistical calculation, it is backbone. So if there is biasness in the data which we are collecting, then the results will also be biased, because the results are dependent on the data. When one thing is dependent on the other, then results also affect, then the predictions also affect that biasness, if there is biasness in the data. So he's telling that identify voluntary responses sampling and convenience sampling. So what is voluntary response sampling and convenience sampling, and how these sampling methods can lead to biasness. Describe how to select a simple random sample using slips of paper, technology, or a table of random digits. Describe how to select a sample using stratified random sampling, cluster sampling. These are the different sampling methods. This what are they? Stratified sampling. What is stratified? I'll explain you, just give an introduction of each thing. One was the different samplings. Different samplings. Stratified. Stratified means strata. Strata means quality, some quality. Quality, qualitative we can say, or ability. Some ability it is having. The data is having. So sampling on the basis of ability. For example, I am collecting, measuring the blood group, whether it is A positive, B positive, O positive. Okay, O positive, the blood group. So what I'll do, I'll take the age group, measure the things by age. I'll separate the whole population by age group between 0 to 10, 10 to 20. Then what factor I have used, strata I've used the strata as age. So this is known as stratified sampling. I have taken the whole population, that was for suppose USA. I have separated the, what you will say, the population based on their ages. Correct. So it is known as stratified. This was some send. Then second is used as cluster sampling. Cluster means in the whole population. Cluster sampling. What does cluster means? Randomly what we do, this is the population, we make clusters in the population. Clusters means parts of small parts of it, and analyze the clusters, and what you say, perform calculation on the cluster and select one sample based on all these clusters. That's known, we'll see it in deep when we study further. Then there is systematic random sampling. Systematic means arranging. Systematic Arranging the ascending data in specific order. For example, I have arranged this is my data in a specific order, likewise order of 7. So what I'll do now, I'll choose any one column of it, 3. Then I'll select all the observation in this column. All the observation that's coming in this column, I'll arrange it and then choose this as a sample from the whole population. This is the whole population and I've chose a sample based on arranging the observation systematic wise. So this is known as systematic sample. Okay. Then there is a random and explain whether a particular sampling method is appropriate in a given situation. So we will see which sampling method to use when. Which sampling method is to be used in which circumstances. Which sampling method is to be used in which circumstances. Okay, so that is the thing. Explain how undercover, non-response, question wording, and other aspects of sampling survey can lead to biases. So we'll see all these things. So we'll start with population, census, and sample. You note down the definition of there are 3 things: population, census, and sample. There is more theory in this chapter rather than calculation. You need to remember the key concepts of all the definitions on. Just a minute, Zaid. My water bottle was not available at that time. Just a minute. Now it is available. I'll just drink water. You also drink it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So seeing the definition of the population. Population census and sample. The population is a statistical study in which the entire group of individual we want information about. So what it is? The entire group of people, of individuals. You can say there are not every time people. There are individuals. Individuals. We have seen the definition of individuals. Yes or no? What are individuals? That specific. What you'll say. The the things that are involved in our statistical inference. So the entire group of individuals, individuals under study is called population. Is called population. Okay. So that's the population. What is census? The census collect data from every individual in the population. So census, the data collected by every individual, the data collected from every individual, the data collected from every individual from population is known as census. Is known as census. So we say that census says us. There are information in the news that census suggests that there will be rain. So what it is, what census is? that what data is collected from the individual is known as census. I'll explain you. See, generally, for suppose I am measuring the age. I am measuring the age. Okay, so there are people 1, 2, 3, 4. So these 4 people are included in the population. This is the population. And what all I am measuring? Age, okay, gender, then their height, for example, their weight, okay. These all things, the attributes, or you can say variables that are under consideration. These are the census of the population. Census of population. Did you got that, Zaid? What is census and what is population? Yeah, you got it? Am I audible?
I muted myself. Yes, I understand.
Yes. Next, a sample. What is sample? See, sample, what he said. A sample is a subset of individuals in the population from which we collect data. A sample is a subset of the population. A sample is a subset of population or a part of the population of individuals for which data we have collected. For which data was collected. Okay. So that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The distinction between population and sample is basic to statistics. To make sense of any sample result, you must know the population the sample represents. Okay. So what is telling the distinction between population and sample is basic to statistics. To make sense of any sample result, you must know what population the sample represents. Okay. Okay. Sampling monitors and voters, population and sample. So we'll study an example.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so come on, read this example, Zay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is an example of that what voters generally EVM, the machine. Okay, read this example.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so you have read the thing. What we have to generally differentiate between which is the population and which is the sample. So it is very easy. Come on, tell me the answer.
Mm. For let's see. Which one? A?
Yes, A.
Let's see.
C. Or I'll explain you the thing.
It
Population.
doesn't say anything about it.
Yes, there is a rough information about the population, but just we have to generally differentiate that the task that they are doing, the task that they are doing in problem A and B. So what will be the population and what will be the sample in that? Okay. So see, the quality control manager at a factory that produces computer monitors select 10 monitors from the production line each hour. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
correct. So he has selecting 10
Yeah.
monitors. there are, for suppose many computer monitors in the factory, but from that computer monitors, what is selecting? He is selecting 10 monitors. Yes or no?
Yeah.
So from where he has selected this 10 monitors? From the whole computer monitor set. So this is the subset. So this will be a sample and this will be a population. The whole computer monitors in
Yes.
that factory will be population, and that the he is selecting 10 monitors. Each R will be the sample. You got that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the second, prior to an election, a new organization surveys 1,000 registered voters to predict the which candidate will be elected as a president. So there is the whole population in that. For suppose in that candidate will be elected, a news organization prior to an election. So for suppose there are the set of all registered voters. There are many registered voters. Okay, you have to just what attribute of population it is. So it is registered voters. There are many registered voters. So how many of them they have selected from the whole set? They have selected 1,000 registered voters. 1,000 registered voters. So this will be sample and this will be population. You got that, Zaid?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So see the solution. The population is all the monitors produced in this factory that are means in that are all the monitors in computer, all computer monitors, all computer monitors in 1 hour, and from that in that one from 1 hour, how much he has selected? 10 monitors he has taken from that 1 hour. Okay, and in the second case it will be the population is all registered voters. Correct, I have given you that all registered voters, just all. I have told that word, all registered voters, and from that all registered voters we have selected 1,000. So this will be a population and sample. You got that, Zaid?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the idea of sample survey, we often draw conclusions about a population based on a sample. We have seen that we are generally giving conclusions based on the sample about the population. So have you ever tested a sample of ice cream and ordered a cone because the sample tastes good? Because ice cream is fairly uniform. The single taste represents the whole. Choosing a representative sample from a large and varied population like a young US drivers is not so easy. So the first step in planning a sample survey is to decide what population we want to describe. The second step is to decide what we want to measure. So what population, the first step in the thing is that that what population, the first step in planning a sample survey. I'll take this on my board. This is very important thing. What is important in the sample surveys is that the first step in planning a sample survey is to decide what population we want to describe. Means on what basis, on what thing we need to decide the population. There is very large city. Which population of the city we want to take? Which part of the city for the population? And the second step is to decide what we want to measure. Means there is a population. The population has age, height, weight, then you will say fairness, then the job, they are employed or unemployed, then they are a student or a, they are employed or a student. There are various attributes. First we need to fix the population and what we want to measure, what we need to measure. These are the things. Is it clear what is sample survey
Mm-hmm.
telling us?
Yeah.
Yeah, so sample survey, a sample survey study that collects data from a sample. So see, if I am collecting data for measuring the age, I'll not ask about whether they are employed or not employed. I will not ask about their job. I'll generally ask about what is their age. Yes or no? So we need to fix
Yeah.
the parameters. We need to fix parameters. What will not say attributes of the population. What we need to measure. We need to fix it before going for a sampling. Is it clear?
Mm-hmm.
So a sample survey is a study that collects data from a sample to learn about the population from which the sample was selected. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Okay. By our definition, the individuals in a sample survey can be people, animals, or things. So what are the individuals? These are all the things that we need to see. Some people use the term survey or sample survey. to refer only to studies in which people are asked questions like the news organization survey in preceding example will avoid this more restrictive terminology. The final step in planning a sample survey is to decide how to choose a sample from the population. Here is an activity that illustrates the process of conducting a sample survey. So activities is who wrote the Federalist Papers. Federalist Papers. So this is the thing. I want to read this. You have to read
Yeah,
this.
okay.
Federalist Papers are a series of 85 essays supporting the ratification of the US Constitution. At that time they were published, the identity of the authors was a secret known to only a few people. Over time, however, the authors were identified as Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and John Jay. The authorship of 73 of the essays is fairly certain, leaving 12 in dispute. However, thanks in some part of the statistical analysis, most scholars now believe that in the 12 disputed essays were written by Madison alone in collaboration with Hamilton. There are several ways to use statistics to help determine the authorship of a disputed text. One method is to estimate the average word length in a disputed text and compare it to the average word length of the works where the author is not in dispute. Oh, see, the following passage is in the opening paragraph of the Federalist Paper number 51. One of the disputed essays. The theme of this essay is the separation of the powers between the three branches of government. Okay, so what he has done, there was a constitution or the federal papers that were written. So what he has generally done that when the papers, the disputed papers were there, so it had some text. Yes or no? It has many text. So
Mm-hmm.
there was a dispute on this paper, disputed as who has written this paper. Either Alexander has written or Madison has written. So what they had done, they had collected samples of both of them. They have collected the samples of Alexander, the papers that they had written alone, Alexander as well as Madison, and what they have seen, what are how the words they use, what phrases they use while writing the sentences, what are their word lengths in the sentences, how they frame the paragraphs and all that. Analyzing that, analyzing that, they had given the conclusion about 12 federal papers. Yes or no? This was the statistical
Mm-hmm.
technique that they have used for predicting it. Do you got that? How they predicted
Yeah.
it? Yeah. So first we
Yep.
need to know what we are testing generally. Then we will decide what attribute we will test on the population and what sample we will take based on the population, because a population has various attributes. What attribute you want to take? It's upon us. Okay. To what expedient then shall we finally resort for maintaining in practice the necessary partition of power among the several departments? Okay, so it is an example. So count the number of letters in each of the words you selected to find the average word. Okay. To see what he has used. So without presuming to undertake a full development of this important idea, I will hazard a few general observations which may perhaps place it in a clearer light and enable us to form a more correct judgment of the principles and structures of the government planned by the convention. Choose 5 words from this passage, count the number of letters in each of the words you selected, and find the average word length. Your teacher will draw and label a see how they have done. They have measured the average word length of Alexandra as well as Madison, and then they have given the conclusion on that. The teacher will draw and label a horizontal axis for a class dot plot. Plot the average word length you obtained in step 1 on the graph. The teacher will show you how to use a random number generator to select a random number of 5 words from 130 words in the opening passage. Count the number of letters in each of the selected words and find the average word length. So randomly selecting means you can go on to any word, like randomly. I've selected found, then I've selected interior, then I've selected important, then I've selected practice, then I've selected expedient, then I've selected late. So I have to select these 5 words and then measure their average word length. Okay. So your teacher will draw and label another horizontal axis with a sample same scale for a comparative dot plot. The plot average word length you obtained in step 3 on the graph. How do the plots compare? Can you think of any reason why they might be different? Discuss with your class. So when you do generally random sampling, the dot plots will be the same. They will have the same average and all. We'll do it in next class. So how to sample badly? Suppose you want to know how long students at a large high school spent doing homework last week. We might go to the school library and ask the first 30 students we see about the amount of time they spend on their homework. This method is known as convenience sampling. So what we have done, on what basis we have done the sampling? It is based on our convenience. Seeing our convenience, what we have done, either for example, I am standing in a library and I want to see that in a library. how much average the student sit in library, average time student spends in library, student spends in library. Okay, so what I'll do, for thing I need to stand the whole day, whole, for suppose the library is 18 for open for 18 hours. So what I need to do, stand for whole day, then measure each of the student, that how many hours he is sitting, measure his in time and out time. But what we have done, just we have taken first 30 students that we saw when we had arrived to the library, the first 30 students. So we had sampled. There were many students. For suppose there 200 students visited the library that day. 200 students visited the library that day. But what we took first 30 students, as we took the students based on our convenience, based on our convenience. Yes or no?
Mm-hmm.
So this is known as convenience sampling. Convenience sampling. Is it clear?
Mm-hmm.
So convenience sampling, so this can include biasness. So the next point here is explaining that these 30 students may, as they had arrived in the early morning, it may happen that they have their school in the afternoon. So they left the library very early. So this includes the biasness in the data, that they will have spent less time. But the less than the 170 students that had entered in the afternoon time or at that time, but in the later thing, they had spent more time in the library. So our conclusion that the average time spent by these students in the library will be wrong, because we have taken our convenience sampling. So this is known as biasness. The design of a statistical study shows bias if it is very likely to underestimate or very likely to overestimate the value you want to know. Means what we have under, if they have left the library early, left the library early left the library early. So what we have done, we have, what's the word? Biasness is uh, underestimate the result. We have underestimate our observation. And if, for suppose they have left the library very late, left the these 30, I am talking about the 30 students, left the library very late. As for suppose that they didn't have school on that day, those 30 students, for suppose they thought, they had made the decision that don't go to school. So what will be our observation? That our observation will be overestimated. Overestimated. Did you got that? What I'm trying to explain? Underestimated and
Yeah.
overestimated. Here we are average. Here what must be the average? It will be very less, and from the average time, it here, this in this sense it will be very less, and in this sense it will be very large, but depending on the condition that they are going through. Okay, so this is biasness. So next is voluntary response sampling. So voluntary response sampling allows people to choose to be in the sample by responding to a general invitation. For example, I have told in the library that I am going to sample the average time of the students. So what is the thing that I'll announce? I have made an announcement in the library one day prior that tomorrow will be an survey based on how much average time you spend in this library. So how many students will be present there? So for suppose in the library at that time 200 or 200 students were present there, as there are 200 seats. So from that 50 students have raised their hand that they will be present. And then we have measured our average time based on that 50 students. Okay, 50 or for suppose 30 have raised their hands. Okay, so that voluntarily they have responded to the sampling. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this then it is known as voluntary response sampling, allows people to choose to be in the sample. So from that 200 people, voluntarily means depending on their mood, voluntarily the people choose that whether they want to be in the sample, or not, or not. Correct? Yes or no?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that is the thing. So most internet polls, along with a call in, text in, and write in polls, rely on voluntary response sampling. People who self select to participate in such surveys are usually not representative of the population of interest. Voluntary response sampling attracts people who feel strongly about an issue. So that's very cautious question. That voluntary sampling, those people will take only those people will only take part in who are very interested to know that what is the average time people are spending in the library, and who are not interested in that observation, they'll not give their voluntary support in our sampling methods. Okay, so this is now the thing. You will come on, read this question and give me the answer.
Mm-hmm. Voluntary. Voluntary.
Okay, what was it? Voluntarily. In
Voluntary.
2016,
Yeah.
Britain's National Environment Research Council invited the public to name its new 300 million polar research to vote on the name. People simply needed to visit a website and record their choice. Ignoring names suggested by the council, over 1,24,000, 1,000, 124,000, 124,000 people voted for Boti McBot face, which ended up having more than 3 times as many as votes as the second place finisher. What type of sampling did the conclusion? Oh, yes, that was a voluntary response sampling. Yes, correct, correct. Good. Here, remember to describe how the response from the members of the sample might differ from the response from the rest of the population, and how the difference will affect the estimate. Okay, so now how to sample well. So the best, or you may say the basic sampling method that is the best for the basic needs is our random sample. So what I'll suggest, we'll see this start our the sampling methods from tomorrow. Is it okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just I'll provide you the second test paper also in an hour based on the chapter 2 unit 1. In an hour or two, I'll forward you the test paper on the group. So what you need to do, sit in a place and give the test. Is it clear? Today is Sunday, you can give it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, come on. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. You can leave. Say.
Okay. Wait, now?
Yes, you can leave right now. Yes.
Okay.